Have you ever heard of a family so powerful they financed wars, built railroads, and reshaped empires, all without a single crown or army? This isn't a fantasy novel. It's the real story of the Rothschilds, a dynasty that turned money into the ultimate form of power. Our story begins in the late 1700s, in the cramped Jewish ghetto of Frankfurt, Germany. A young man named Meyer Amschel Rothschild starts his journey not in a palace, but as a humble coin dealer. He was brilliant, ambitious, and had an uncanny eye for finance. After studying under German nobility, he became the trusted financial advisor to one of the wealthiest men in Europe, Prince William of Hesse. It was here that the foundations of an empire were laid. An old saying, often attributed to Meyer, perfectly captures his philosophy. "Give me control of a nation's money, and I care not who makes its laws." Whether he truly said it or not, this idea became the very symbol of his family's future influence. Meyer Amschel knew that for his family to thrive, they couldn't just stay in Frankfurt. He had a revolutionary idea. He trained his 5 sons in the art of finance and then sent them out to conquer Europe's most important financial centers. Amschel, the eldest, remained in Frankfurt. Salomon went to Vienna, Karl to Naples, James to Paris, and Nathan, perhaps the most brilliant of them all, set up shop in London. Think about it. Long before the internet, before even the telegraph, these 5 brothers created the world's first truly international banking network. They communicated using a private courier system, sending coded letters back and forth, sharing priceless intelligence about markets, politics, and wars. Their family motto was simple but powerful: unity, discipline, secrecy. This wasn't just a business. It was a fortress built on blood ties and absolute trust. They were a 19th century version of a global intelligence agency, with finance as their weapon. Now let's talk about the most legendary chapter in their history: the Battle of Waterloo in 1815. The fate of Europe hung in the balance as Napoleon faced off against the British and their allies. In London, Nathan Rothschild waited. According to the legend, he received news of Napoleon's defeat a full day before the British government itself. How? His network of couriers was simply faster. The story goes that Nathan walked into the London Stock Exchange looking defeated. He began to sell his British government bonds, creating the impression that Napoleon had won. Panic erupted. Everyone started selling, thinking their investments were about to become worthless. The market crashed. Then, just as the price hit rock bottom, Nathan's agents secretly bought up everything they could. When the official news of Wellington's victory finally arrived, the market soared, and Nathan Rothschild had made an astronomical fortune. Is this story completely true? Historians still debate the details, but whether it was a masterstroke of manipulation or simply a well-placed bet, the tale of Waterloo cemented the Rothschilds' reputation as financial titans who could bend economies to their will. With this newfound power and capital, the Rothschilds became the private bankers to all of Europe. When kings and governments needed money, they didn't go to other kings. They went to the Rothschilds. They financed Britain's war effort against Napoleon. They funded the monumental Suez Canal project, giving Britain a direct lifeline to its empire in India. They laid the tracks for Europe's first great railway systems, connecting cities and economies like never before. They weren't just lenders, they were nation builders. While monarchs ruled with armies and decrees, the Rothschilds ruled with something far more subtle and powerful: interest rates. They understood that controlling a nation's debt meant controlling its destiny. So what was their secret? How did they maintain this incredible level of influence for so long? The answer is simple: information. In an era of slow communication, information was the most valuable currency of all, and the Rothschilds had the best. Their network of couriers, agents, and family members gave them an unparalleled advantage. They knew which way the political winds were blowing long before anyone else, and they protected this advantage with absolute secrecy. This secrecy was reinforced by a strict family code. For generations, they practiced strategic intermarriage, with cousins marrying cousins to ensure their vast fortune, and secrets remained within the family. No outsiders were allowed into the inner circle. No leaks were tolerated. While other powerful dynasties rose and fell with the tides of war and revolution, the Rothschilds endured. They were everywhere and nowhere at once. A decentralized network that couldn't be toppled by conquering a single city or capturing a single king. Their fortress was their family. But the Rothschilds weren't just about accumulating wealth. They also became immense patrons of culture, art, and philanthropy. They funded hospitals, universities, and scientific research. Their magnificent homes and art collections became legendary across Europe. The family also played a crucial role in supporting Jewish emancipation movements, using their influence to advocate for civil rights and religious freedom for Jewish communities. In recognition of their contributions, members of the family were granted noble titles, becoming barons and lords in Austria and Britain. By the end of the 19th century, the name Rothschild was no longer just the name of a banking family. It was a synonym for a new kind of aristocracy, one built on wealth, not birthright. However, this incredible power and secrecy came at a price. The Rothschilds became a magnet for suspicion, envy, and conspiracy theories, many of them rooted in anti-Semitic prejudice. They were accused of everything, controlling the world's governments from the shadows, owning all the central banks, and even starting wars for profit. The myth began to overshadow the men. In reality, while they were undeniably one of the most powerful families in the world, they were not the omnipotent puppet masters of popular imagination. But the narrative of hidden, unaccountable power was so compelling that the name Rothschild became a shorthand for it, a symbol that continues to fuel conspiracy theories to this day. The 20th century brought new challenges that the old ways couldn't overcome. 2 world wars, the rise of communism, and the nationalization of industries across Europe began to erode the family's empire. During World War II, their Austrian assets were seized by the Nazis, and the family was forced to flee. The old model of a family-run pan-European bank was becoming obsolete in a world of modern, globalized finance. But the Rothschilds didn't disappear. They adapted. They restructured their businesses, moving into modern investment banking, asset management, and private equity. Today, Rothschild & Co. remains a highly respected and influential financial institution, discreetly managing billions for clients around the world. The family also diversified into other areas, like their world-renowned wine estates in France. Their legacy is no longer just about banking. It's about resilience. So what can we learn from the epic story of the Rothschilds? Their history is a powerful lesson that true power doesn't always come from a crown or a title. It can be built on knowledge, unity, and perfect timing. They proved that information, when used correctly, is the ultimate currency. They showed how a family, bound by trust, could become a fortress against the storms of history. The Rothschilds crafted their own narrative, one of quiet influence and immense power, proving that sometimes the hand that gives the gold is the one that truly rules the world. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, don't forget to show some love. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next dive into history. See you next time.